If you're joining us for the first time, hello and welcome. If you are a returning supporter and friend, welcome back. This is Unboxing Economics. Today we'll be taking a look at the arguments against, or the no case, for a no vote on the upcoming referendum of the Aboriginal Voice to Parliament. This referendum will take place on the 14th of October 2023. Please note this video is part of a series, and I absolutely recommend you go and watch the video on this channel outlining the Yes campaign, as well as a separate video of a full reading of the bill. Before getting into the specifics of the no vote, let's first outline what the no campaign is not. Most people who are against the voice are not against the idea of Aboriginal Australians having representation to or in federal parliament, nor are they against tackling and dealing with Aboriginal issues at a community level. The vast majority of Australians want Aboriginal Australians to thrive and have their lives improved, to have gaps narrowed and one day closed. The no campaign is merely against this iteration of the voice, the mechanisms of this voice to Parliament, and the enshrining in the Constitution of such an entity. The no campaign points out that there are no other special advisory bodies for other minority Australian groups, and that separating Australians based on race is divisive and unproductive. This is very specifically what the voice would do, to give preferential treatment to the needs and desires of one group based on their ethnic background. Many no campaigners, including Warren Mundine, point out that the wording of the Voice Act specifies matters relating to Aboriginal Australians, which insinuates that there are matters specific to and separate from other Australians, which further divides us by race. Moreover, it doesn't give any definition or limitation of this function. Presumably anything the voice would perceive as matters affecting Aboriginals would be included in voice concerns. Staunch no campaigners would also like more detail about what representations means in the Representations to Parliament and Executive Government section of the bill. If such representations from the voice are considered more carefully or more diligently or with more attention than typical information, opinion or advice from other non-voice parliamentary working groups, this could add an inequitable aspect to our democracy going forward. No voters further argue that if a modern Western liberal democratic system, as we have and cherish, were working properly, all voices would be heard on the basis of concern, need, impact and immediacy, not historical disadvantage or historic injustice. The no campaign points out that throughout Australia's recent history, several Australian governmental bodies or bureaucratic institutions have been set up, funded and run for the purpose of improving the lives, health, social welfare, cultural awareness, economic prosperity and general well-being of Aboriginal Australians. The broad aim of many successive governments of both parties has been to close the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. On these issues, however, these institutions, the largest and most recent of which was ATSIC, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Commission, have failed to achieve publicly stated outcomes, and in the case of ATSIC was closed due to poor performance, cost overruns and alleged corrupt practices. The no campaign contends a reasonable question about how or why the voice would be any different or any more effective, especially since if the bill were passed, the voice would be working in addition to many other NGOs in this space, adding the potential further layer of bureaucracy to an already choked up system dealing with many a complex issue. Although a somewhat separate issue, the no campaign also contends that a treaty is impossible because treaty implies voluntary coming together of two parties to decide who is going to rule over a certain land. This erroneously presumes that Aboriginal Australians to be a monolith and that a treaty can be negotiated between Indigenous Australians and non-Indigenous Australians. This is a poor understanding of the reality and diversity within First Nations people. Having a voice enshrined in the Constitution will be merely symbolic and could distract people from the other real issues facing Aboriginal Australians. No campaign contends that money and energy from the federal government is better spent and better focused elsewhere. Many predominant Aboriginal Australians are against the Voice, including bipartisan politician Warren Mundine, current country Liberal Party Senator and Shadow Minister for Indigenous Affairs Jacinta Price, as well as other prominent Australians, including former Prime Ministers John Howard and Tony Abbott, as well as current federal Liberal Party leader Mr. Peter Dutton. There are also some far-fetched arguments put forward by no supporters, including the potential for use and misuse of the High Court interventions should the Voice's advice not be adhered to by the Parliament. Moreover, there are suggestions that treaty and truth parts of the Uluru Statement from the Heart could lead to monetary reparations paid from the Australian taxpayers to Aboriginal Australians for moral infractions of the past. These two arguments I do not subscribe to. I do not see them as coherent. I do not see them as likely. A compromise of sorts was put forward as an idea by Mr. Mundine to legislate the Voice into existence, which the Parliament would currently have the power to do. Then, after an appropriate trial run, if it were functioning well, then we could enshrine it in the Constitution. This would seem to solve many grievances of both sides. Changes to our Constitution are rare and difficult to obtain, if Australia's history is anything to go by. Putting additional wording into the Constitution is difficult enough. Having sections removed, I dare say, would be as difficult. Therefore, any changes to our Constitution should be viewed with caution, scepticism, necessity, and most of all, merit. Please note this list, whilst extensive, is by no means exhaustive, and please watch the Yes Case video and a rebuttal video of both sides to come. This has been Unboxing Economics. Thank you so much for watching.